The massive alien ship hung in space like a silver jewel against the black. Inside the human space station, Dr. Kate Morrison watched through the observation deck windows as the strange vessel grew larger. Her heart beat fast with excitement and fear. This was it. First contact with an alien race. Captain Jake Sullivan stood beside her, his uniform crisp and his face calm. He had been chosen to lead this meeting because he stayed cool under pressure. Today would test that skill like never before. "They're beautiful," Kate whispered, as the alien ship came closer. The vessel looked like it was grown rather than built, with smooth curves and strange patterns along its hull. "Beautiful and unknown," Jake replied. "Remember, we know almost nothing about them except they call themselves Zephyrians, and they want to meet us." The docking process took 2 hours. The aliens had sent detailed instructions, but their ship was so different from human technology that every step required careful checking. When the airlock finally opened, Kate held her breath. The first alien stepped through and Kate felt her eyes go wide. The creature was tall, maybe 7 feet, with smooth green scales that seemed to change color in the light. Its face was long and narrow, with large golden eyes that reminded Kate of a snake. But when it spoke, its voice was warm and friendly. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire. We come in peace and friendship." Jake stepped forward and offered his hand. The alien looked at it for a moment, then reached out with a scaled hand that had 4 long fingers. The handshake was gentle and lasted exactly 3 seconds. "Welcome to Station Columbus, Ambassador. I am Captain Jake Sullivan, and this is Dr. Kate Morrison, our head of alien studies." More aliens came through the airlock. Kate counted 12 of them, all tall and scaled, but each slightly different. Some had darker scales, others had different eye colors. One carried what looked like a glowing box, another held a device that hummed softly. "We have brought gifts," said Ambassador Veltar, "and we hope to learn much about your species and your world." The next few hours passed in a blur of formal greetings and careful diplomacy. The aliens were polite and seemed genuinely interested in humans. They asked about human history, culture, and biology. In return, they shared basic information about their own people. Kate learned that Zephyrians lived for over 800 years. They came from a hot, dry world with 3 suns. Their empire stretched across dozens of star systems, and they had met many different alien races. To them, humans were young and new, like children who had just learned to walk among the stars. "Your species is fascinating," said Kethmore, the alien who served as their translator. "You live such short lives, yet you accomplish so much. Most races we meet are either very long-lived and slow to act, or they burn out quickly in violence and chaos. How do you see us?" Kate asked, curious about their first impressions. "You seem to be quick-thinking and energetic," replied Veltar. "Like most short-lived species, you probably act on impulse and immediate needs. This is not bad, just different from our way." Jake nodded politely, but Kate caught something in the alien's tone that bothered her. They seemed to think humans were simple, like smart animals that could use tools but couldn't think far ahead. The formal meetings continued for 3 days. The aliens were always polite, but Kate began to notice they treated humans like interesting pets. They asked questions about human technology with the same tone someone might use to ask how a clever dog learned a new trick. On the 4th day, Jake decided to host a formal dinner. The station's best cooks prepared a meal that would show off human culture and cooking skills. The dining hall was decorated with flags from Earth's nations and pictures of human achievements. The aliens seemed impressed with the food, though. They ate very little. Kate learned that Zephyrians only needed to eat once or twice a week, unlike humans who ate every day. "Your species requires much energy," observed Zareth, one of the alien scientists. "You must hunt and gather constantly, yes? Like the small, quick creatures on our world that dart about looking for food." Kate felt her face grow warm with annoyance, but she kept her voice calm. "Humans have moved beyond hunting and gathering. We grow our food now and we plan our meals far in advance." "Ah yes, farming," said Veltar with what seemed like approval. "A sign of progress, though still focused on immediate needs like feeding yourselves. The conversation moved to other topics. Jake asked about alien worlds, and the Zephyrians described planets with purple oceans and floating cities. Kate talked about Earth's diversity, mentioning the different climates and the thousands of species that lived there. "Your world sounds rich with life," said Kethmore. "What kind of predators do you have?" "We always find predators interesting, because they show us how evolution shapes hunting behavior." Kate smiled, happy to talk about something she knew well. "Earth has many predators. Big cats like lions and tigers, sharks in the oceans, birds of prey like eagles and hawks, and reptiles too, like snakes and crocodiles." "Crocodiles?" Veltar's golden eyes seemed to focus more sharply. "Tell us about these creatures." "They're large reptiles that live in and near water," Kate explained. "Some can grow to be over 20 feet long. They're very good hunters." "How do they hunt?" asked Zareth, leaning forward with interest. Jake spoke up. "They're ambush predators. They hide in the water and wait for animals to come drink, then they strike fast and drag their prey underwater." "Ah, typical behavior," said Veltar, seeming to lose interest. "Quick strikes when opportunity presents itself. We have similar creatures on several worlds we know." "Well, they're a bit more patient than that," Jake continued. "Crocodiles can wait for a really long time. Hours, sometimes even days, just floating in the same spot until the right moment comes." Kate noticed the aliens exchange quick looks, but the conversation moved on to other topics. They talked about human art, music, and literature. The aliens seemed more interested in these subjects, asking detailed questions about human creativity. As the dinner wound down, Ambassador Veltar stood to make a speech. "We thank you for your hospitality. In our travels we have met many species, and each has taught us something new. Humans appear to be a vibrant, energetic people, full of quick thoughts and rapid actions. We look forward to learning more about your ways." The aliens returned to their ship that night, but they would stay docked for 2 more weeks to continue the cultural exchange. Kate felt the first meeting had gone well, though she was still bothered by their assumption that humans were impulsive and short-sighted. "They seem nice enough," Jake said as they watched the alien ship through the observation window. "A bit condescending, but not hostile." "They think we're like children," Kate replied. "Smart children, but still children who can't think past tomorrow." "Maybe that will change as they get to know us better," Jake said. Kate nodded, but something told her the real test was still coming. The aliens had centuries of experience meeting new species, and they had clear ideas about how short-lived races behaved. Changing their minds would not be easy. As she prepared for bed that night, Kate thought about the conversation at dinner. The aliens had seemed interested in Earth's predators, but only briefly. They obviously thought they understood how hunting worked based on their experience with other worlds. She wondered what they would think if they really understood how patient and calculating Earth's predators could be. But that was a topic for another day. Tomorrow would bring new meetings, new questions, and hopefully, new understanding between 2 very different species. The second week of the alien visit began with clear skies outside the station windows. Dr. Alex Bennett walked into the main conference room carrying a small device and a nervous smile. He was the station's marine biologist, and today was his turn to present to the Zephyrian delegation. Kate Morrison sat in the front row next to Captain Jake Sullivan. Behind them, the 12 alien visitors filled their specially made chairs, their golden eyes focused on Alex with polite interest. Ambassador Veltar had his hands folded in what Kate had learned was their version of respectful attention. "Today I want to show you something about Earth's wildlife," Alex began, his voice slightly shaky. "We've prepared a documentary about some of our planet's most successful predators. We thought it might help you understand how life evolved on our world." He pressed a button on his device, and the large screen at the front of the room came to life. The first images showed African lions stalking across golden grasslands. The narrator's voice was calm and educational, as it explained how lions work together to hunt prey. The Zephyrians watched with interest, but no surprise. They had seen similar pack hunters on other worlds. Veltar nodded approvingly as the lions brought down a zebra with quick, coordinated teamwork. "Efficient," commented Zareth. They work together and strike when the moment is right. Very typical behavior for social predators. The documentary moved on to sharks, showing the great whites of Earth's oceans. The aliens seemed impressed by their size and power, but again, nothing they saw was completely new to them. They had encountered aquatic predators before. "Your world produces strong hunters," said Kethmore, "but their methods are familiar to us. Quick strikes, overwhelming force or pack cooperation, the standard approaches to predation." Alex smiled and nodded. "Well, wait until you see the next segment. This one might be a bit different." The screen faded to black, then slowly revealed a muddy riverbank. The camera moved across the water's surface, showing what looked like a floating log. The narrator's voice returned, but this time, there was something different in his tone. "The saltwater crocodile is one of Earth's most patient predators," the voice said. "What you're looking at has been in this exact position for 3 weeks." Kate noticed the aliens shift slightly in their seats. Their attention seemed sharper now, more focused. The camera zoomed in on what they had thought was a log. Now they could see it was actually a massive crocodile, nearly 20 feet long, floating motionless in the murky water. Only its eyes and the tip of its snout showed above the surface. "This individual has been photographed in the same spot for 21 days, the narrator continued. "It has not moved more than a few inches. It has not eaten. It is waiting, Commander." Lisa Hayes, who sat near the back of the room, noticed that several aliens had leaned forward in their chairs. Their usually calm expressions showed the first signs of unease she had seen since they arrived. "Waiting for what?" Veltar asked, his voice slightly strained. "For the right moment," Alex replied. "Crocodiles can wait weeks, even months, for the perfect hunting opportunity." On screen, the documentary showed time-lapse photography of the same crocodile over several weeks. Day and night passed, rain fell, the sun beat down, but the massive predator never moved. It floated in the same position like a piece of driftwood, its eyes always watching the riverbank. "This cannot be accurate," said one of the younger Zephyrian scientists, his translator clicking nervously. "No predator waits so long without moving. They would starve." Alex paused the video and turned to face his audience. "Actually, crocodiles can survive for over a year without eating if necessary. Their metabolism slows down so much that they barely need any energy at all." The room fell silent, except for the soft humming of the station's air systems. Kate watched the alien faces and saw something she had never seen before. Fear, the documentary continued, showing more examples. A crocodile that had waited at the same watering hole for 2 months. Another that had remained motionless for 47 days before finally striking at a water buffalo. The camera showed the attack in slow motion, the explosive power after so much patient stillness. "They can slow their heart rate to just 2 beats per minute, the narrator explained. "In this state, they use almost no energy, but they remain completely aware of their surroundings. They are not sleeping or resting. They are hunting." Kethmore made a sound that Kate had never heard before, a low clicking that seemed to come from deep in his throat. Several other aliens began making similar noises. "This is impossible," Zareth whispered. "Predators they cannot. How can a creature remain focused on hunting for months without moving?" The most disturbing footage came next. The documentary showed a crocodile that researchers had been studying for over a year. It had chosen a spot near a popular crossing point and had been there for 8 months. The camera showed the same animal in the same position through different seasons, through storms and calm weather, through day and night. "The longest recorded wait by a crocodile is just over 13 months, the narrator said. "The animal maintained perfect position and perfect awareness for the entire time, waiting for the ideal prey to come within range." 2 of the younger aliens suddenly stood up and left the room. Kate heard their translator devices clicking rapidly as they hurried toward the exit. Ambassador Veltar did not try to stop them. "Are you certain this information is correct?" Veltar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Alex nodded. "Absolutely. We have thousands of hours of documentation. Crocodiles are perhaps the most patient predators on Earth. They've perfected the art of waiting. The documentary showed more species with similar abilities, alligator snapping turtles that could remain motionless underwater for hours with their mouths open waiting for fish to swim in. Certain spiders that built webs and then waited for months in the same position for prey to become trapped. Your world has many creatures that hunt by waiting, observed Veltar, though he sounded like he was trying to convince himself this was normal. Earth's environment has always rewarded patience, Lisa Hayes said from her seat in the back. Many of our most successful species are the ones that learn to wait for the right moment instead of rushing into action. The aliens exchanged looks that Kate was beginning to recognize as their version of worried conversation. Their golden eyes seemed wider than usual, and their scales had shifted to darker colors. Alex continued his presentation, showing how crocodiles could enter a state that was almost like suspended animation while still maintaining perfect hunting awareness. Their brain activity slowed, but never stopped monitoring their surroundings. They could detect the slightest vibration in the water, the smallest movement on the riverbank. They are not resting, Alex emphasized. They are actively hunting, just very, very slowly. When the documentary ended, the room was quiet for a long time. The aliens sat in their chairs, staring at the now blank screen. Kate could see them, processing what they had learned, and she could tell they did not like their conclusions. Finally, Ambassador Veltar spoke. We would like to see more documentation of these creatures. Do you have additional research materials? Of course, Alex replied. We have decades of crocodile research. They're one of our most studied predators because they're so successful. They've remained virtually unchanged for millions of years because their hunting strategy works so well. Millions of years, Veltar repeated slowly. Your world has been producing patient predators for millions of years. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. She was beginning to understand why the aliens looked so disturbed. In their experience, patience was a sign of intelligence and higher thinking. But crocodiles showed incredible patience without any real intelligence at all. They did it naturally, instinctively. The meeting ended earlier than planned. The aliens requested copies of all crocodile research and asked for time to study the materials privately. As they filed out of the conference room, Kate heard their translator devices working overtime, clicking and humming with what sounded like urgent conversation. After the aliens left, Alex, Kate, Jake, and Lisa remained in the conference room. The silence stretched until Jake finally spoke. I think we just scared them, he said quietly. But why? Alex asked. They're just crocodiles. Every world must have patient predators. Lisa shook her head. I don't think they do. Did you see their faces? They looked like we had just shown them something impossible. Kate stared at the blank screen where the documentary had played. She thought about the crocodiles floating motionless in muddy water, waiting with perfect patience for prey that might not come for months. She thought about the aliens' shocked expressions and their hurried exit. I think, she said slowly, we just taught them something about Earth that they really didn't want to know. The emergency meeting began at 3 a.m, station time. Kate Morrison was pulled from her sleep by urgent knocking on her door. Captain Jake Sullivan looked tired but alert when she met him in the corridor, and they both hurried toward the communication center. What's happening? Kate asked as they walked quickly through the dimly lit hallways. The aliens are talking to their homeworld, Jake replied. Emergency communications. Our systems picked up the transmissions an hour ago. They entered the communication center where Lieutenant Tom Bradley sat at the main console, wearing headphones, and looking worried. Commander Lisa Hayes stood behind him reading data from multiple screens. Are we listening to their conversations? Kate asked, feeling uncomfortable about spying on their guests. Not exactly, Lisa replied. We can't understand their language without their translators, but we can monitor the signal strength and frequency. They've been broadcasting continuously for 3 hours. Jake studied the readouts on the screens. This much communication suggests something important. Maybe something urgent. Tom pulled off his headphones and turned to face them. It's not just communication, sir. They're transmitting huge amounts of data. Technical specifications, video files, detailed reports. This isn't just a conversation. They're sending everything they've learned about us. Kate felt her stomach tighten. Everything? Including the crocodile footage? Especially that, Tom confirmed. The biggest data burst came right after Dr. Bennett's presentation yesterday. They've been sending that documentary and all the research files to their home world. The group stood in uncomfortable silence, watching the alien ship through the communication center's windows. The beautiful silver vessel looked the same as always. But now Kate wondered what urgent conversations were happening inside. Should we ask them about it? She suggested. Let's wait, Jake decided. If they want to talk, they'll come to us. If we push too hard, we might damage the whole exchange program. But they didn't have to wait long. 6 hours later, Ambassador Veltar requested an immediate meeting with the senior human staff. Kate, Jake, Lisa, and Alex Bennett gathered in the main conference room, unsure what to expect. When the aliens entered, Kate immediately noticed the change in their behavior. They moved differently, their scales darker than usual, their golden eyes constantly scanning the room. Several carried devices that hummed and clicked quietly. We have been in communication with our home world, Veltar began without his usual polite greetings. Our scientists have reviewed the information about your crocodiles. They have questions. Alex shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Of course, Ambassador. We're happy to answer any questions about Earth's wildlife. Our experts need to understand the biological mechanisms, said Zareth, who had set up some kind of recording device on the table. How exactly do these creatures maintain awareness while slowing their metabolism so dramatically? Kate watched Alex take a deep breath before answering. It's a combination of several factors. Crocodiles can slow their heart rate to almost nothing, but their brain activity remains partially active. They enter a state that's like a very light sleep, where they're still aware of vibrations, sounds, and movement around them. This partial consciousness during metabolic slowdown, Veltar said slowly. This is natural for them. They do not need to learn this ability. That's right, Alex confirmed. It's instinctive. Baby crocodiles can do it just as well as adults. They're born with this ability. The aliens exchanged their worried looks again. Kethamore activated his own recording device and leaned forward. You said they can remain in this state for over a year. Please explain how they survive without food for so long. Alex launched into a detailed explanation of crocodile physiology. He described how they stored energy in their bodies, how they could shut down non-essential functions, and how they could survive on tiny amounts of oxygen. The more he explained, the more agitated the aliens became. In our travels, Veltar said when Alex finished, we have encountered over 40 different species across 23 worlds. None of them possess this combination of abilities. Extended patience combined with metabolic control, combined with maintained awareness. This is unusual. How unusual? Jake asked. Zareth consulted a glowing tablet before answering. In our experience, there are two types of predators. Quick strikers who attack immediately when they see prey, and pack hunters who coordinate rapid attacks. We have never encountered predators who can wait for extended periods while maintaining perfect hunting readiness. Lisa leaned forward in her chair. What about ambush predators on other worlds? They exist, Kethamore replied. But they wait for hours at most, not months, and they require constant feeding. The idea of a predator that can survive a year without food while remaining alert and dangerous it challenges our understanding of how predation works. Kate was beginning to see the scope of the problem. You're saying that crocodiles are unique in the galaxy? We're saying, Veltar replied carefully, that your crocodiles display a combination of traits that we have never seen in nature. Extreme patience, metabolic control, and predatory awareness. On most worlds, these traits appear separately in different species, if at all. Alex looked confused. But they're just crocodiles. They're successful predators. But they're not intelligent. They can't plan or think ahead, they just wait. Just wait, repeated Zareth as if the words tasted bad. For months, while remaining aware, while staying ready to kill. The room fell quiet. Kate could hear the soft humming of the station's systems and the occasional beep from alien devices. She was starting to understand why the aliens seemed so disturbed. "There's something else," Veltar continued. "Our home world wants to know about other Earth predators with similar abilities." Alex and Kate exchanged glances. "Well," Alex said slowly, "crocodiles aren't the only ones. Many Earth predators show remarkable patience." He went on to describe other patient hunters. Spiders that could wait in their webs for weeks. Deep-sea fish that remained motionless in the dark ocean depths for months. Snapping turtles that sat underwater without moving until prey swam directly into their mouths. "Your world seems to specialize in patient predators," observed Kethmore, his voice strained. "Earth's environment has always been competitive," Kate explained. "Resources aren't always abundant. The animals that learn to wait for the right opportunity often survive better than those that rushed into action. So your entire ecosystem has been shaped by this principle," Veltar said. "Patience as a survival strategy." Jake nodded. "In many ways, yes. Earth rewards the creatures that can wait for the right moment." The aliens were quiet for several minutes, their devices clicking and humming as they processed this information. Finally, Veltar spoke again. "We need to understand something else. You mentioned that crocodiles have remained unchanged for millions of years. This successful strategy has been part of your world for a very long time." "About 200 million years," Alex confirmed. "They're living fossils. They found a strategy that worked and stuck with it." 200 million years, Zareth repeated. "Your world has been producing patient, deadly predators for 200 million years." Kate felt a chill. She was beginning to see their perspective. "Ambassador, why is this so important to your people?" Veltar was quiet for a long moment before answering. "In our culture, and in most cultures we have encountered, the ability to delay gratification for extended periods is considered a sign of higher intelligence. It indicates planning ability, strategic thinking, and advanced consciousness." "But crocodiles aren't intelligent," Alex protested. "No," Veltar agreed. "They are not, and that is what disturbs us. Your world has produced creatures that naturally possess traits we associate with advanced civilizations. They do instinctively what most intelligent species must learn through centuries of cultural development." Lisa sat back in her chair, finally understanding. "You're worried about what this means for humans." "We are beginning to reassess our initial evaluation of your species," Kethmore admitted. "We assumed you were typical short-lived beings who act on impulse and immediate needs. But you come from a world where patience is built into the very foundation of life, where waiting for the right moment is a basic survival strategy." Jake and I felt the weight of their words. "You're wondering if humans learned patience from our environment." "We are wondering," Veltar said slowly, "what kind of creatures a world like this would produce after millions of years of evolution. What kind of thinking, planning, waiting abilities might develop in intelligent beings who grew up surrounded by such patient predators." The meeting ended with more questions than answers. The aliens requested detailed information about human hunting techniques, military strategies, and long-term planning capabilities. They wanted to study human history, looking for patterns of patience and strategic thinking. As they filed out of the conference room, Kate heard Veltar speaking quietly to Zareth in their own language. She couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Fear, worry, and a growing realization that they might have seriously underestimated the species they had come to study. After the aliens left, the humans sat in stunned silence. Finally, Alex spoke. "I think we just became a lot more interesting to them," he said quietly. The change in the aliens began on the 8th day after Dr. Bennett's presentation. Kate Morrison noticed it first during the morning briefing when Ambassador Veltar asked what seemed like a simple question about human breakfast habits. "You eat 3 times each day," Veltar observed, watching Kate sip her coffee. "Every day at regular times. This is planned behavior, yes?" Kate paused with her cup halfway to her lips. "I suppose so. We plan our meals in advance." "How far in advance?" asked Zareth, who had been taking notes on everything humans did since the crocodile discussion. "Well, I planned this week's meals on Sunday. Some people plan a month ahead when they go grocery shopping. The aliens exchanged their worried looks. "A month," Veltar repeated. "You plan your feeding behavior a month in advance." Captain Jake Sullivan, who was sitting across the table, started to sense trouble. "That's just practical, Ambassador. It saves time and money." "Of course," Veltar replied, but Kate could hear doubt in his voice. "Very practical. Very strategic." The questions continued throughout the day, but they were different now. Instead of asking about human culture or technology, the aliens wanted to know about human planning, human patience, and human long-term thinking. Dr. Alex Bennett was asked about his research career. When he mentioned that his crocodile study had taken 12 years to complete, the aliens went silent for several minutes. 12 years, Kethmore said finally. "You dedicated 12 years of your short life to studying patient predators. It was important research," Alex replied, confused by their reaction. "You were willing to spend 12% of your entire lifespan waiting and watching," Zareth noted. "This shows remarkable patience for a species we thought was impulsive." "Commander," Lisa Hayes was questioned about military strategy. When she casually mentioned that some military operations were planned years in advance, two of the younger aliens left the room again. "Years," Veltar whispered. "Your warriors plan campaigns that last for years, sometimes longer," Lisa said, not understanding why this upset them. "The development of new weapon systems can take decades. Some strategic plans span generations." The aliens' behavior became stranger as the day went on. They started watching humans differently, studying every action as if looking for hidden meaning. When engineer Paul Turner mentioned that the space station had been under construction for 15 years, they seemed genuinely disturbed. 15 years to build one structure, Veltar said to his companions in their own language. Kate's translator device picked up fragments. Long-term commitment and generational thinking, and something that sounded like apex patience. By evening, the aliens were treating every human interaction as if it might be part of some elaborate, long-term plan. When Kate smiled and said good morning, they seemed to analyze her expression for hidden motives. When Jake offered them coffee, they hesitated as if wondering what strategic purpose the gesture might serve. The breaking point came during dinner. Paul Turner was explaining how humans had planned the journey to the stars, describing projects that had taken 50 years to complete and space missions that were planned for the next century. "We've already mapped out Mars colonization for the next 100 years, Paul said cheerfully. "And we have preliminary plans for interstellar exploration that stretch out 500 years. The silence that followed was deafening. Every alien in the room stared at Paul as if he had just announced plans to destroy their home world. 500 years, Veltar said in a voice barely above a whisper. "You make plans that extend 500 years into the future." "Well, they're just rough plans," Paul replied, sensing the tension. "Mostly theoretical at this point." "Theoretical plans," Zareth repeated. "For 5 centuries. Jake decided to intervene. "Ambassador, is there something wrong? You seem troubled by our planning methods." Veltar was quiet for a long moment before answering. "Captain Sullivan, we need you to understand something about galactic civilization. In our experience, there are 2 types of intelligent species. Those who live very long lives and think in centuries, and those who live short lives and think in days or weeks." "That makes sense," Kate said. "You do not make sense," Veltar replied bluntly. "You live short lives, but you think in centuries. This combination is unprecedented in our experience." Alex leaned forward. "What's wrong with long-term planning?" "Nothing is wrong with it," Kethmore answered. "But combined with your short lives, it suggests something we have never encountered before. A species that naturally thinks in multiple generations despite individual lifespans of less than a century." Lisa was beginning to understand their concern. "You're afraid of our planning abilities." "We are reassessing our initial evaluation," Veltar admitted. "When we first met you, we assumed you were like other short-lived species. Quick to act, focused on immediate needs, limited in strategic thinking." "But we're not," Jake said. "No, you are not. You are something new. a species that combines the energy and adaptability of short-lived beings with the strategic patience of long-lived civilizations. Kate felt a chill. And that scares you. Zareth activated a recording device. May we ask about your historical conflicts? How long did your wars typically last? The humans exchanged glances. Some were short, Lisa replied carefully. Others lasted decades. The Cold War lasted nearly 50 years. 50 years of sustained strategic competition, Veltar noted, without direct violence but with constant planning and maneuvering. And your current conflicts? Zareth asked. We don't really have major conflicts anymore, Jake said. We've learned to work together. How long did this learning process take? Paul thought for a moment. Centuries, I suppose, maybe longer. We've been slowly getting better at cooperation for thousands of years. Thousands of years of gradual strategic evolution, Veltar said to his companions, while maintaining individual lifespans of less than 100 years. The aliens' devices were clicking and humming constantly now, recording every word. Kate realized they were documenting everything for their homeworld, building a profile of human strategic capabilities. Ambassador, she said carefully, what exactly are you looking for? Veltar hesitated before answering. We are trying to understand what kind of species evolves on a world like yours. A world where the most successful predators wait for months or years to strike. A world where patience is rewarded and quick action often leads to death. You think our environment shaped how we think, Alex said. We think your environment shaped everything about you, Zareth replied. Your crocodiles can wait a year to kill. Your spiders sit motionless for months. Your deep-sea predators remain still for years. And now we discover that you, the intelligent species from this world, make plans that span centuries. This is not coincidence, Kethmore added. This is evolution. Your world taught you patience, and you learned the lesson well. The room fell silent except for the humming of alien recording devices. Kate looked around the table at her colleagues and saw her own concerns reflected in their faces. The aliens were no longer seeing them as friendly neighbors or potential allies. They were seeing them as products of a world that bred apex predators. What does this mean for our relationship? Jake asked. We are still evaluating, Veltar replied. But we must report our findings to the Empire. The existence of a species with your combination of traits. This will require careful consideration. Are we a threat to you? Lisa asked directly. Veltar was quiet for a long time before answering. We do not know yet. You seem peaceful and cooperative, but you also come from a world that has been teaching patience and strategic thinking for millions of years. You make plans that extend far beyond your individual lives. You coordinate actions across generations. You think like apex predators, even if you do not act like them. Yet, Zareth added quietly. The word hung in the air like a threat. Kate realized that the aliens were no longer worried about what humans were. They were worried about what humans might become. The evening ended earlier than usual. The aliens excused themselves and returned to their ship, leaving the humans alone with their thoughts and a growing understanding that first contact was not going as well as they had hoped. They're afraid of us, Alex said after the aliens left. Not afraid, Jake corrected. Cautious. They're trying to figure out if we're dangerous. Are we? Kate asked. Nobody had a good answer for that question. They sat in the empty dining hall, looking out at the alien ship and wondering what conversations were taking place inside. What reports were being sent home? What decisions were being made about humanity's future? For the first time since the aliens arrived, Kate wondered if first contact had been a mistake. They had wanted to make friends among the stars, but instead, they had made the galactic community worry about the patient predators from Earth. The final confrontation came on the last day of the 2-week exchange. Ambassador Veltar requested a private meeting with the senior human staff, and his tone suggested this would not be a friendly conversation. Kate Morrison entered the conference room to find all 12 aliens waiting, their devices arranged on the table like weapons. The atmosphere felt heavy and dangerous, nothing like the polite curiosity of their first meeting. Captain Jake Sullivan took his seat across from Veltar, with Dr. Alex Bennett, Commander Lisa Hayes, and Engineer Paul Turner flanking him. The eyes. Humans looked calm, but Kate could see the tension in their faces. "We have completed our evaluation," Veltar began without pleasantries. "Our homeworld has reviewed all the data we have gathered about your species and your world. We have reached conclusions that we must share with you." Jake nodded. "We're listening, Ambassador." Veltar activated a large display device. Images of Earth appeared on the screen, showing crocodiles, spiders, and other patient predators. Then the images shifted to human cities, space stations, and historical documents. "When we first arrived," Veltar said, "we believed we were meeting a typical short-lived species, quick-thinking, impulsive, focused on immediate needs. We have met dozens of such species across the galaxy. But we were wrong," Zareth continued. "You are not typical. You are something we have never encountered before." The display showed graphs and charts that the humans couldn't read, but the aliens' body language made their meaning clear. This was a threat assessment. "You come from a world that has spent millions of years rewarding patience and strategic thinking," Kethmore explained. "Your most successful predators are not the fastest or strongest, but the most patient. They can wait longer than their prey, can remain alert." Kate felt her heart beating faster. "Ambassador, where is this leading?" "To the truth about your species," Veltar replied. "You have inherited the patience of your world's predators, but you have combined it with intelligence, technology, and social cooperation. This makes you potentially the most dangerous species we have ever encountered." The room fell silent. Jake was the first to speak. "Dangerous how?" Zareth manipulated the display to show human historical timelines. "Your species makes plans that extend far beyond individual lifespans. You coordinate actions across generations. You wait decades to achieve strategic goals. You think like apex predators, but with the intelligence to plan centuries ahead. That's just good planning," Paul protested. "No," Veltar said firmly. "That is predatory patience applied to civilization-level thinking. It is unprecedented and terrifying." Alex leaned forward. "Ambassador, we're peaceful. We've shown you nothing but friendship and cooperation." "You have shown us exactly what a patient predator would show," Kethmore replied. "Calm behavior, careful observation, strategic patience. You study us as thoroughly as we study you. You answer our questions while gathering intelligence about our capabilities and weaknesses." Kate realized with growing horror that the aliens had interpreted every friendly gesture as potential manipulation. "You think we're hunting you?" "We think you are doing what any intelligent predator would do," Veltar answered. "Learning about potential prey or potential threats, gathering information, waiting for the right moment to act." Lisa stood up slowly. "This is ridiculous. If we wanted to hurt you, we would have done it already." "Would you?" Zareth challenged. "Or would you wait? Would you study us first, learn our weaknesses, understand our technology? Would you plan for years or decades before making your move?" The question hung in the air. Kate realized that anything they said could be interpreted as either innocence or clever misdirection. Jake took a different approach. "What do you want from us, Ambassador?" Veltar was quiet for several minutes before answering. "We want to propose a solution that protects both our species and yours." He activated another display showing what looked like a formal document. "The Zephyrian Empire is prepared to offer humanity a long-term cultural exchange program. 50 Earth years of cooperation and mutual study." "That sounds positive," Kate said cautiously. "It is a test," Veltar replied bluntly. 50 years will allow us to observe your true nature. If you are the peaceful species you claim to be, the program will benefit both our peoples. If you are the patient predators we fear you might be, 50 years will give us time to prepare appropriate defenses." Alex felt anger rising in his chest. "You're treating us like criminals who haven't committed a crime yet. We are treating you like an unknown quantity with unprecedented capabilities," Zareth corrected. "Your species combines traits that should not exist together. We must be cautious." Paul shook his head. "This is insane." You're afraid of us because crocodiles can wait a long time to hunt? We are cautious because your entire world has spent millions of years teaching patience as a survival strategy, Kethmore replied. And because you, as the intelligent product of that world, have learned that lesson better than any species we have encountered. The humans exchanged glances. Kate could see that her colleagues were struggling with the same realization she was having. The aliens weren't wrong about human patience and planning abilities. They were just wrong about what humans plan to do with those abilities. What if we refuse your program? Jake asked. Then we will recommend that the Empire classify humanity as a potential threat, Veltar said simply. Trade restrictions, limited contact, careful monitoring. You would not be welcomed into galactic civilization until you prove your peaceful intentions. And if we accept, then we work together for 50 years. You demonstrate your peaceful nature and we learn to trust you. If successful, humanity could become a valued member of the galactic community. Lisa sat back down. 50 years of being watched and tested. 50 years of cooperation and mutual benefit, Veltar corrected. But yes, you would be observed and evaluated. Kate looked around the table at her colleagues. They were trapped. Refuse the program and humanity would be isolated from galactic civilization. Accept it, and they would spend the next 50 years under suspicion. We need time to consider this, Jake said finally. Of course, Veltar agreed. But understand that our report to the Empire is already written. We will describe a species with unprecedented patience and strategic capabilities. Whether that species is classified as peaceful or potentially dangerous depends on your decision. The meeting ended with careful handshakes and polite words, but the friendliness of the early days was gone. The aliens packed their equipment and prepared to leave, while the humans tried to process what had just happened. As the alien ship prepared to undock, Kate found herself in the observation lounge, watching their departure. Alex joined her, along with Jake, Lisa, and Paul. So we scared them, Alex said quietly. We terrified them, Kate corrected. They came here expecting to meet primitive beings, and instead they found patient predators with space travel. Are we? Paul asked. Patient predators, I mean. Jake considered the question. We plan for decades. We hold grudges across generations. We coordinate global efforts that span centuries. Maybe they have a point. But we're not hunting them, Lisa protested. Aren't we? Kate asked. We invited them here to learn about their technology, their capabilities, their weaknesses. We studied them as carefully as they studied us. The alien ship was moving away from the station now, growing smaller against the stars. Soon it would jump to faster-than-light travel and carry its disturbing report back to the Zephyrian Empire. 50 years, Alex said. 50 years of proving we're not the monsters they think we might be. Maybe that's fair, Jake replied. If I met a species from a world full of patient predators, I might be cautious too. Kate continued watching until the alien ship disappeared into the darkness. Somewhere below them, in the station's small biodome, she knew there was a crocodile habitat. Right now, one of those ancient predators was probably floating motionless in murky water, eyes just above the surface, waiting with perfect patience for prey that might not come for months. The aliens had seen that patience in humanity and it had frightened them. Maybe they were right to be frightened. Maybe any species that learned survival from Earth's patient predators would inevitably carry some of that deadly patience in their souls. But Kate hoped that 50 years would be enough to prove that human patience could be used for cooperation instead of predation, that the children of Earth could choose to be gardeners instead of hunters, builders instead of destroyers. Time would tell. And if there was one thing humans had learned from their world of patient predators, it was how to wait. The crocodile in the biodome hadn't moved in 3 weeks. It could wait 3 more months without concern. Patience was, after all, just another word for hope stretched across time, and humanity had learned patience from the best teachers in the galaxy.